Anyway, wild berries is burning hard. Burning hard. I think most likely they'll shut it down because of events like this. You could have left for work in an hour. That's it. The warehouse is gone.
Yekaterinburg, the unofficial capital of the Urals, over 2,000 kilometers from Ukraine. And once again, wild berries is on fire. Drones gave the Russians an open-air cinema show. Meanwhile, President Zelensky confirmed the successful test of Ukrainian ballistics. More on all of this in the following TSN.ua reports. This morning, Russians in Yekaterinburg were clearly not in the mood for online shopping. Local channels are reporting a drone attack on a large wild berries logistics complex. The footage shows the moment of impact, after which thick black smoke rises over the facility and a fire soon erupts. According to Russian media reports, about 800 employees were evacuated from the complex. Wild berries has a huge logistics infrastructure in Yekaterinburg. In particular, one of the large centers on Perspektivna Street has an area of about 158,000 square meters and is capable of holding up to 120 million units of goods. The video shows the fire spreading inside the building and the black smoke becoming increasingly thick. Employees were evacuated, but it seems the residents of Yekaterinburg were left with a different kind of entertainment. An open-air sitala. Only instead of a movie, it's a burning wild berries. And this is not the first time the logistics of this warehouse have come under attack. At the end of July, Russian authorities already reported an attack on the company's Yekaterinburg logistics center. Back then, the parking lot caught fire due to falling debris, and the complex's operations were temporarily suspended. And now a new attack, and this time a fire directly at the facility itself. However, the company itself stated that they managed to contain the fire at the warehouse. And this is definitely not the last attack. It's telling that Yekaterinburg is over 2,000 kilometers away from Ukraine. You'd think, where's Ukraine and where are the Urals? Thousands of kilometers between the Frontline and Yekaterinburg. But it seems that for Russians, this distance has ceased to be a guarantee of a peaceful life. Ukrainian long-range drones are gradually erasing this distance. And most importantly, it's only going to get more interesting from here. If long-range drones are already making Russians nervously glance at the sky, then the next level for the Kremlin could turn out to be significantly more unpleasant. Ukraine is preparing for the first combat use of its own ballistic missile, the fluorine monophosphide 7. According to Reuters, this could happen as early as this autumn. Currently, the missile's undergoing codification at the Ministry of Defense. The procedure is expected to take another 2 to 4 weeks. And before that, the Ukrainian ballistic missile had already managed to undergo about 15 test launches. Former Minister of Defense Mikhailo Fedorov, in an interview with Serhiy Sternenko, revealed that on the very day of his dismissal, Ukraine successfully tested a ballistic missile. And according to him, the missile hit the target precisely without any deviation. However, the former official did not disclose exactly which missile he was referring to. In early July, Bloomberg suggested that Ukraine might have used its own ballistic missile against a target on Russian territory for the first time. The basis for such assumptions was a rather telling statement from the Russian Ministry of Defense itself. They claim to have allegedly intercepted a long-range operational tactical missile using air defense systems. The Russians did not disclose the name of the missile, but this very statement from Moscow gave Bloomberg analysts grounds to assume that Russia might have encountered a Ukrainian ballistic missile for the first time, not at a testing ground, but in actual combat. Previously, Firepoint technical director Irina Turk reported that the company was simultaneously working on testing the fluorine monophosphide 7 missile and another ballistic project. After that, a number of military observers suggested that it was specifically about the Sapson. But is that the case? It is too early to say that yet. According to Fedorov, now it is necessary to complete the testing and launch production. And this means that another very unpleasant prospect may appear for the Russian rear. Because drones are one thing, a ballistic missile is something completely different. It can already become a tool for striking important military targets at a significant distance. in particular Russian launch systems, from which ballistic missiles regularly fly at Ukrainian cities. Moreover, it seems this is no longer a question of the distant future. They plan to launch the fluorine monophosphide 7 at the beginning of autumn. The fluorine monophosphide 9, and even larger ballistic missile, could enter testing by late autumn. If these projects truly go into serial production, the war could enter a different phase. In his evening address on July 6th, President Zelensky announced that Kyiv, together with European partners, is implementing the Freya program, a joint project to create an anti-ballistic system. But in parallel, Kyiv is also working on something else, ensuring that Ukrainian missiles can fly in response. Zelensky stated that tests of their own ballistic missiles have already shown good prospects.
First, anti-ballistics. Our Freya program for a joint European anti-ballistic system is already in active development. 10 EU countries. More of our partners will join, those partners who can provide real support. We've already agreed on this. I am grateful to all the companies that are ready to work within the framework of the anti-ballistic coalition. These are leading European companies. Ukraine is capable of making its own missile and launcher. Partners will provide the necessary components and critical elements, radars, sensors, and other things that are needed. A truly large-scale anti-ballistic program of its own will be very helpful to everyone in Europe. Today we went through in detail what else is needed, what steps are required from our state, and what from our partners, so that Ukrainian weapons manufacturers and Ukrainian developers can ensure real results. Very few countries in the world have created such an anti-ballistic project for themselves. Ukraine must join this circle of states. We are creating all the conditions for this. Others have been working on their developments for decades. Ukraine must act as quickly as possible so that by the turn of 2026 to 2027, there are concrete results. And Ukraine is working to ensure we have our own ballistic missiles. The tests have shown good prospects. We need to make this a real weapon. The NSDC, our intelligence services, the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Defense, the Air Force, the Brave One Defense Cluster, all structures of our state are involved.
Defense News directly links the development of Ukrainian long-range systems to a shift in Kyiv's position in negotiations. Ukraine no longer comes to the table completely without its own leverage. If Ukrainian ballistics go into serial production, the Russian command will have to reckon with a new reality. Launchers, ammunition depots, command posts, military factories, and deep rear logistics hubs will no longer be unreachable just because they're located hundreds of kilometers from the front line. And this could force Russia to spend significantly more resources on defending its own territory. After all, Russian air defense is not limitless. The more systems that have to be left in the rear to cover strategic facilities, the fewer can remain to protect troops and infrastructure near the front line. That is precisely why missile systems expert Fabian Hoffman, as quoted by Reuters, believes that the mass use of Ukrainian ballistic missiles could stretch Russian air defenses, especially following Ukrainian strikes on Russian military facilities. However, experts state that even the best missile will change nothing if it is not available in sufficient quantities. And it is precisely the scale of production that will become the main test for Ukraine. And this is exactly where the main question arises. Will Ukraine be able to turn a technological breakthrough into mass production? Because if so, Russia risks losing one of the most important advantages of this war. The advantage where missiles fly in only one direction, toward Ukrainian cities. And then the main battle could move far beyond the front lines and into the Russian rear. And what do you think? Is Ukrainian ballistics capable of changing the balance of the war? Write your thoughts under this video. This was Lena Turishin and SNUA. Take care of yourselves and see you in the next episodes.